Welcome back to the Asian Conference Day 2022 นะครับ In this session นะครับ we will focus on the topic of digitalization and its application in transport sector. It's very sexy and crucial topic นะครับ for the future of e-mobilities นะครับ For this session I would like to introduce our moderators นะครับ Mr. Nick from GSZ Transport Vietnam ครับ Mr. Nick, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
ครับ The floor is yours.
Okay, so thank you, Pan. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome you all to the session on digitalization for transport, new ways and possibilities. And my name is Vu Thu Giang. I'm a member of the NDC TIA project team, and I'm very happy to be your host today. As you may know, digitalization is a buzzword in all spheres of our modern life, and simply put, it is the use of digital technologies to change a business model and provide new revenue and value-producing opportunities. Therefore, we can also perceive digitalization in transport as the use of advanced technologies such as AI and big data to transform the transport sector in a smarter, greener, and more efficient manner. And our session today will open new windows for potential cooperation opportunities, learning from experiences of countries all over the world to optimize the digitalization process on management and cooperation of traffic infrastructure and transport activities. And we will have 4 presentations from our keynote speakers. The first one is Mr. Le Thanh from Technology and Information Center of the Ministry of Transport of Vietnam. And the second one is the Dr. Jian from Tongji University, China. And the third one is Ms. Vu Thu Giang from Digital Transformation Center of Vietnam. And the last one is from Mr. Hadi Setyabudi from Ministry of Transport of Indonesia. And after that, we're gonna have an open discussion between speakers and participants, which will be highly interactive and interesting. However, you don't need to wait until then to pose questions. Throughout our program, you can leave your questions anytime in the chat box in order for our speakers to address in the discussion. And we also have the support of simultaneous interpretation. So please select your preferred language in the globe symbol. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Le Thanh from Technology and Information Center of the Ministry of Transport of Vietnam to deliver the first presentation on institutional arrangement on digitalization in transport sector of Vietnam. Mr. Tung, the floor is yours.
Tôi là Lê Thanh Tùng, giám đốc công nghệ thông tin.
Hello, my name is Le Thanh Tùng. I'm the director of the ICT Center of the MOT Vietnam. And I would like to talk about the digitalization policies in the transport sector in Vietnam. Vietnam have been very active and proactive in implementation of the IR 4.0. In September 2019, the Politburo Vietnam already issued resolution number 52 for some of the efforts for the active and proactive participating in the IR 4.0. In 2020, the government of Vietnam already issued resolution number 50 with the action program for the implementation of the Politburo resolution. The National Digitalization Program adopted in June 2020. This is the kind of the master plan with the targets and also the specific tasks for the implementation of the digitalization process in Vietnam and how when we contribute to the social economic development in Vietnam. And based on the assignment delegated by the government, the MOT already developed the digitalization program for the transport sector with the target until 2030 and the vision until 2050. Yeah, Vietnam has the vision by 2030 that when Vietnam become the digital nation, when we can adopt the new models and also have the comprehensive transformation in the government activities and also with the business activities and also in the public lifestyles. and behaviors. And Vietnam also have the kind of the dual targets to first to promote the three pillars of digitalization, e-government, digital government, digital society, and digital economy. And we try to meet the digitalization requirements of Vietnam economy and also of the transport sector, and contribute to the digitalization process of other countries in the world. The DX program of Vietnam also have some of the priorities. So these are the very big domains, and the successful in this domain will bring about the benefits for the public and for the business community, and also to pave the way for the DX in other sectors and contributing to socio-economic development. Transport sector is one of the 8 prioritized domain for the DX, together with other sectors such as the health sectors, education sectors, banking and financing, energy, and other sectors. For the DX program of transport sector until 2025 and the vision until 2030, the vision until 2030, the transport sector, the pioneering sector in holistic innovation and digitalization to implement the strategy goal of the sector. And the second one, the application of the digital technologies and the use of the digital data across the management activity to ensure the safety environment, safety of transport, and to bring about the benefits for individuals and business and organizations. And in order to achieve the vision, we really need to raise awareness of the different stakeholders. And the awareness raising need to be for different departments of the MOT and also business involved and the one involved in the DX process of the transport sector. Second one is to establish the institutional and policy framework promoting the DX in transport sector. So when we do the DX, we will change the working modalities, shifting from the conventional one to the more modern environment using the digital data. Therefore, it is necessary to have the policy and institutional framework in place to support the government and the governance. Yeah, we also need to develop the digital government and digital economy, and also to enhance the efficiency and the performance of the transport sector by adopting the smart transport and also the non-stop toll collections. More insights about the digital government. We focus on the establishment of the database, the transport sector is support the digitalization, and also to have the database for the transport infrastructures, and also to better management of the vehicles and the staff involved in the transport sector. And when we have this data, we try to provide the open data for the data search and data entries by the people. And based on that, we can have the electronic intervention for the maintenance of the transport sector database, and also with the data entries of the different subsectors. By 2030, all of the management modalities, including the decision making, been based on the digital.
And in digital economy, we will apply smart transport system and apply electronic toll collection in the national express route networks. We will also apply smart transport solutions and urban entrance fees collection to address traffic jam problem and link urban transport networks with ring road networks. And in digital economy, we develop the transport economy. We will promote the linkage of multi-modal transport services with logistics and supply chains, and shift the service provision practices from conventional to digital services towards the shared economy model to be deployed extensively in all the aspects of a transport sector. And to implement the digitalization program of the transport sectors, we develop 8 solutions with 27 specific tasks, which include awareness raising, creations of institutions ensuring cybersecurity and information safety, human resource development, international cooperation, and scientific researches. In the coming time, we will focus on implementing the 3 key solutions on digital infrastructure development, digital platform development, and digital data development, laying the foundation for the development of digitalization of transport sector. For digital infrastructure development, we will promote the investment in advanced IT infrastructure in support of the sector management and application of smart transport system and electronic toll collection, and also IoT application in Vietnam's national road networks. For digital platform development, we will focus on developing digital platforms for extensive deployment in units under MOT as well as nationwide via toll collection management, electronic payment, automatic identification and control of vehicles, and monitoring of transport vehicles. And we will apply BIM model in construction and transport infrastructure management. For digital data development, the Vietnam's transport sector focuses on the policy to share the open data as well as open data infrastructure. We will promote the application of technologies, big data and AI in analyzing data sources in the transport sector in support of monitoring and management of the transport sector in Vietnam. In digital economic development in the transport sector, we will develop digital enterprises via dissemination of knowledge, sharing experience, as well as supporting enterprises and sharing data in support of digital enterprise in the sector to develop. For digital economic development, we will support the shared economy, encouraging the development, control transport demand, and reduce pressure on the infrastructure and reduce GHG emission. And we would aim at environmentally friendly transport utilities and services, for example, renting public bicycles and shared car services, and encourage and support and sponsor these services to develop into common transport mode. And Vietnam transport sector also determines to promote logistics service supply chains through supply chain planning and development of platforms to link transport logistics with development of transport exchange platforms. With logistics services and with transport data, we aim to promote innovation ecosystem to develop new business models from open data sources provided by MOT and promote startups and innovative researches to provide solutions to reduce traffic jams and reduce logistic costs and mitigate GHG emissions. To implement the digitalization program of the transport sector, we determined that digitalization is not a destination, but it is a process. And why during the course of digitalization, public agencies and departments under MOT need to pay attention to institution policy, investment, and platforms to develop these digital platforms. Stakeholders in the sector need to increase to provide innovative solutions and investment for enterprise to go for digitalization. And for technologies, we need engagement of research institutes, large technology corporation, training institutions to develop human resource in support of digitalization of transport sector. And Vietnam's transport sector at different levels, like the state management agencies, enterprises, research institutions, human resource training institutions are always open and highly valued international cooperation opportunities in digitalization. And Vietnam transport sector has collaborated with some international organizations in promoting the collaboration on digitalization. And it's my hope that there will be more opportunity to further collaborate to promote digitalization and to create an environment and advance transport infrastructure to protect the environment and ensure traffic safety in the service of Vietnamese people and businesses. I just presented the digitalization policies of the transport sector in Vietnam, and I hope that we can further elaborate these issues in the discussion sessions, as well as to share experiences on good solutions and lessons learned on digitalization in the transport sectors of other countries.
Thank you, Mr. Tung, for your very informative presentation, which is very important for us to grab some background information about the digitalization in Vietnam. And once again, I would like to remind you guys that if you have any comment or question regarding Mr. Tung's presentation, feel free to leave them in the chat box. And the next presentation will be delivered by Dr. Jian from Tongji University, China, and he will help us to have some insights into data sources and applications in the digitalization for urban transport in China. Over to you, Dr. Jian.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for inviting us to share our work, which is supported by the GIZ China about the digitalization for urban transport in China. So we have the 4 parts in these presentations. First, about the smart city and smart transportation. The smart city, which is, has not a short history. They have different names. In the first, they have it's called the information cities, followed by the intelligent city and the digital cities. We believe that the IBM first proposed the definition of the smart city, combine the technical means and the demand response with the city information. The role of transportation in smart city is very important. First is in transportation field, we have our models, our series, but based on the information and the communication technologies, we transfer from the model-based to the data-driven and with the knowledge-based. Now the AI comes, so we have a more knowledge-based with the data-driven, and they help us to improve the transportation theory to a smart transportation, including the monitoring, the control, etc., to increase, to enhance the lab qualities, not only about the environmental, the climate change, also about public safety, the green environment, etc. The development of smart city in China is gone through 4 stages. At first, start from the 2008, and at that time, most of the work is by the different department and the local authorities to their own understanding. So it's just trying to work on this. Between the 2014 and 2015, the central government, they start to propose the national guidelines, the national missions about the smart cities, and I think after 2017, it goes through the implementation period. In China, they have a unique models. At first, it's the state directed. We have more than like 20 policy and guidelines issued by the central government, and they involve not only the state-owned companies but also with the internet companies, and they have a lot of social capital invested in this field, and it is also increasing in this field. The second part is about the data protection laws and the regulation in China. In China now, they have a regulation framework for the smart city and the smart transportation. So the central government takes the leading roles and coordinate work between the different departments and between the national and the local. For the data, in general, we divide the 3 categories about the data. The one is the personal information data. For example, in transportation, we have the mobile phone location data. We have the video detection data, etc. The second part is the public data. It includes the transportation as a car, the GPS, etc. The GIS data and environment data. And the third part is the enterprise data. It's collected by the enterprise companies. For example, the mobile phone, anonymize the mobile phone data, the social media checking data, etc. are the data side. We also have the data security protection with different levels, including the transportation, the GIS, the methodology, and the environment with different level depend which one can be opened, which is protected, etc. I think it started from last 2 years. We start to build the public data sharing and open policies. For example, in Shanghai, at the end of last year, they attract the greater importance to public data sharing and open in exploring the public data sharing and the opening. At the first beginning, most of the companies in the platform is the state-owned company, but now the government still want to attract more the private internet company to join the data sharing and opening. And the third part is the data collection and the application in China. Basically, there are 3 kinds of data sets we can use for the transportation. One is the stationary detector data. The second one is the mobile location data. And the other one is the other data source, including all the social media, the urban management data, etc. That is the way we try to manage the data. We put all the data into the transportation information platform, and most of the platform they open for the universities. So for example, the left part is the big data center in our university, and most of the big city, let's say over 5 million populations, that city they have their own TOCCs. They have the big screen and all the data is in that center. Of course, with that data, it has a lot of potential to improve the traffic flow optimizations. For example, so for example, consider about the pandemic on the mobilities. After the pandemic, we found that several people they switch from the public transport to the private automobiles. So with that, the internet company, we can check the congestion pattern changes in the city and see which part of the people they switch from the public transport to the private. So then we can make some behavioral intervention policy based on that data. The other part, for example, that is about the ride-hailing services. So for the traditional taxi, it's very simple because for the regulation is based on the static plate numbers. For example, in Shanghai, we have 40,000 taxi plated. But for the ride-hailing services, online ride-hailing services is different because they have the full-time, they have the part-time, they have the just for fun. So you have to use the data to check different type of the drivers and to make the different policy based on the data. And the third part is for the pandemic transmission risks, we still can use some cell phone data to do some prediction, to do some regulations, evidence-based regulation policies based on the data. So the last part is the conclusion. So of course, the smart city offers great potential for the data-driven traffic flow optimization. And we believe that the government plays a very important role in promoting the smart city and the traffic flow optimizations. And the third part is the China is a specific model to promote data application in the traffic flow optimizations. So this is the end of our presentations, and thanks to Dr. Wei Feng Li, PhD candidate Tian Gan and Peng Juren, and many thanks to GIZ China for supporting this work. Thank you.
Very interesting, Dr. Li Qian. And I think it will ignite a great influx of comments and questions from our audiences. So please leave them in the chat box for Dr. Li if you would like to discuss something with him. And Now we'll take a listen to the next presentation, which will be delivered by Ms. Vu Thu Giang from the Digital Transformation Center, Vietnam. And she will introduce us some issues about smart and green mobility enabled by digital solutions. Perspectives from Vietnam. Go for it, Ms. Giang.
Hello everyone, honored to be here today to exchange some of the experience from Vietnam on how digital solution could transform the transportation industries to overcome the sectoral challenge. Before jumping into the discussions on the topics, first I would like just to cover some of the background information surrounding the mobility sectors in Vietnam. First is the urbanizations. Vietnam urbanizations rate is at 30-70% right now, and it was forecast that over the next phase, the urbanizations will continue and it will surpass rural populations and jumping to 55% by 2045. The second is the pressures on the Vietnam infrastructures. Economic growth is and will continue to put further pressures on this, and traffic congestions in Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi is higher than other Asian cities. This is because Vietnam is less developed in terms of in transport infrastructures, high growth in vehicle ownership, and is also the availability of and use of public transport. Third problem is the climate change issues. In the coming decades, climate change is predicted to increase temperature, sea level, soil and water salinities, and the frequencies of extreme weather events. Since Vietnamese populations and many areas is generally located near the seas or the river delta, the countries will need extra smart mobility measures to prevent flooding and minimize damage from extreme weathers, for instance, through the predictions and early warning services. Fourth is the air pollutions. 70% of air pollutions in urban areas emanate from transportation activities. Vietnam target carbon neutralities by 2015, and the transport sectors must go through a very drastic change to address this challenge. And the last but not least is about the part of the discussion today, the data economy and the booming of the digital transformations. Consumer demand for digital products as well as services and growing and this will continue to grow by serving the demand of the private sectors in influencing how the city, the private sectors are now influencing how the city operate, including mobilities. Next. This is the illustrations of how Vietnam's strong emergence in terms of digital technologies due to high internet penetrations and high smartphone ownership. Vietnam is ready not for a strong digital development with a young and large-scale market that enable quick commercializations of new digital ideas as well as dynamic digital tech enterprise. Another important note is the push from the government in terms of completions of in digital institutions and the legalizations of digital asset, products, and service. This will open up new development space for enterprise to explore. Next, please. As smartphones are becoming increasingly popular to the public, the growth of practical mobile apps is something that we can see right now and is expected to grow in the near future. We could see a growing trend of development of digital mobile apps. Multi-purpose apps are gearing up for a fierce competition to grab the slide of the Vietnam fast growing and mobile-first market. For instance, in Vietnam, the ride-hailing industries is forecast to reach 4 billion by 2025, and it is one of Southeast Asia's fastest growing ride-hailing market. yet smart and green mobility digital are yet to be found in the country. The question is, will digital mobilities in Vietnam is just about just the digital app? Absolutely not. The answer is that there are a lot more potentials yet to be deployed and that need the collaboration between the public and the private sectors. A multitude of disruptive digital technologies could transform the way traffic being monitored, public transport system being operated, and people move about the city. Next, please. A good examples I would like to share today is the intelligent transportation system in Hanoi, a collaboration between the People Committee and the local technology giant FPT and an international company Bosch. Hanoi has been struggled with traffic congestions that came with rapid urbanizations. The city is home to 5.8 million vehicles and causing tremendous pressures on traffic infrastructures. To manage the problem, the People Committee is developing an intelligent transportation system. This system is part of the city's strategy, strengthening the management of road vehicles to reduce environmental pollution in Hanoi by 2023. The information transportation systems, this include a control centers, a safety and security system, an emergency control system, a transport infrastructure management system, and a public bus transport management system. The smart management and monitoring solutions should eventually lead to the improvement in terms of traffic conditions and urban planning in the cities. It is expected that this system will help Hanoi to meet its ambition to address the problem of traffic jam by 2030. Next, please. The slide before, please. Thank you. Another project, the one before, please. Thank you. Another project that has been implemented in 2018 up to now is the integrations of intelligence road solutions such as the video surveillance traffic detections, the optimized low power traffic signal head and control system. These signal head have exceptionally reduced the power consumptions by nearly 70%, and the same system has also contributed to the holistic city management through the installations of a smart crossing system and various traffic detectors. Next, please. What we have learned over the past experience is that there are no silver bullet solutions. The next generations of urban transport system will connect transportation mode, service, and technology together with innovative new way that pragmatically address the seemingly intractable problems. The challenge is to harness the extraordinary innovation taking place to make sure more efficient use of the existing transportation system. Next. Now, successful implementations require a set of critical enablers to exist. While Vietnam already made great progress in developing many of them, more need to be done. And for this today, I would like just to highlight 8 domains that both public and private sectors should take into consideration to ensure the future projects are impactful, financially sustainable, and inclusive. First is about integration by putting in place together national strategies backed by a strong standard and integrate technology as support to facilitate the interoperability. Second is about the open data by investing in the collection, centralizations, and sharing of meaningful data to power the intelligence of initiative nationwide. Third is the connectivities by putting in place the fundamental infrastructure needed to ensure that reliable and inclusive internet access and deepen the mobile penetrations. Fourth is about the cybersecurity by putting in place a software platform, integrate database, and comprehensive technology standard to facilitate, again, the interoperabilities. Fifth, the legal framework by further harmonizing national and local level strategies and plan and connecting them to the on-ground implementations. 6 is funding and financing. The empowerment of private sectors, especially platform to foster the collaborations between government, industry, academia, and associations. 7 is about research and innovations, promoting integrated approach that are impact-driven and multidisciplinary. And the last but not least, the triple helix, by create the role and responsibilities and platform to foster collaborations among all relevant stakeholders, including the government, industry, academia, and civil societies. Next. And to end this discussion, I would like to share with you a new projects led by ZZ and under the Digital for Development agenda of the German government to push boundary in the development of sustainable technologies. In Vietnam, renewable energies and circular economy, including mobility, will be the target areas to further accelerate the new potential of smart and green innovation in Vietnam. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Ms. Giang. This is also very new and hot topic, not only in Vietnam, but also in many other countries in the world, especially in the developing countries. So now, the final speaker is also working for the Ministry of Transport of the country with many similarities to Vietnam. And please give it up for Mr. Hadi Setyabudi from Ministry of Transport of Indonesia. And the topic of his final presentation will be Digitalization for by the Service program in Indonesia, a transition to digital platforms for service and monitoring. Please, Mr. Hadi Setyabudi.
Baik, terima kasih. Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So I am Hadi Setyabudi from the Ministry of Transportation, DG of Land Transportation, and I'm going to present about the program of digitalization on the transportation service with the scheme of by the service with the goal to implement or to provide service and to digitalize the platforms and activities in the operation of transportation. So as we all know that the implementation of urban mass transportation in Indonesia is an effort to eliminate or reduce the impacts or the loss by the traffic jam and also the environmental loss, because based on the data that we have, both from World Bank and then from World Research Institute, and also from the Indonesian National Police, that the consumption of fuel caused by the traffic jam has reached 2.2 million liters per day in 6 metropolitan cities. And then the impact of the traffic jam also lead to loss of time in the 6 cities. And also the traffic jam also create an impact on economic losses of 71.4 trillion per year. This is due to the excessive fuel consumption and also the time lost in the traffic jam. In addition, the traffic jam in the 6 big cities also influence or worsen the environmental condition in Indonesia. Furthermore, the traffic accidents also increases among the 2-wheeled and 4-wheeled vehicles, and 74% of the traffic accidents in Indonesia come from 2- and 3-wheeled motor vehicles. And this is because of the traffic jams and also the use of private vehicles in Indonesia, which is very massive in Indonesia, especially in the big cities. And then with the background that I have already mentioned, the Ministry of Transportation of the Republic of Indonesia tried to implement a program which is called by the service program, where the program is a service of mass transportation where overall the risk is borne by the government. So for the conventional situation right now, the public transportation, the company, they borne the risk without intervention of the government. But with this program, the risk becomes the risk of the government, where all the risk, as I already mentioned, is taken over by the government, and the government will reduce all those risks by taking over those risks. And then the government also give license for implementation of the services by applying the service minimum standards that have to be implemented by the operators, because the operational risks are already on the government side. So the operators have to implement the services required by the government based on the predetermined standards. And then the next step, of course, the government has to prioritize the public vehicles in the development, meaning that all the push and pull strategies have to be implemented so that the program or the services in this program have to be implemented as expected through the minimum service standard as determined by the government. Now, what is actually the standards that are going to be implemented in the implementation and digitalization of the public transportation? So the first is the standards related to security, where all the services provided, all the vehicles have to be equipped with CCTV and an ID card driver and executors, and also hazard button, so that we can actually monitor the driver's behavior and also to give alert when there are hazards in front of the vehicle. So this will help the operation of the vehicles. And then the next standard will be about the safety. This is one of the requirements that have to be met. So the vehicle has to have a vehicle operation SOP, and they have to operate based on that SOP that include like emergency SOPs, so that in the operation they can avoid or minimize the risk on the safety of everyone during the journey. And then the next standard in this digitalization is the comfort. It means that all vehicles that operate within this system have to have a certain temperature, and it has to be clean and also bright. So we don't want to have any vehicle without air conditioner, for example. So all vehicles have to have an AC and also have to be clean and also have good lighting. And also in this digitalization, we also requires affordability and also equality, meaning that all the services have to be accessible by all community members and have access for everyone. And of course, equality is also something that we have to think about, so that people with disabilities can also use this service, and like implementing the seat priority in each vehicles for pregnant women and also for people with disability. And the other thing is reliability, like on time. So for the timetable and then travel speed, of course, this need a good digitalization. And that's why in this program, the digitalization of service become a must to operate this vehicle or public transport system. Next. And then if we look at the situation in the cities that have already implemented the scheme of buy the service, we call it as teman bus, which is the abbreviation of the transportation that is economical, easy, and affordable. So this is the implementation of the buy the service program. So right now we have operated in 5 cities. And then the next, so we started in 2020 with 356 buses. And right now we have the operation of the PPKM, which is to restrict the mobility to contain COVID. So we also have a limited number of passengers, but we do have 25,000 daily passengers at the time. In the services or by the service program, we also have the digital systems that we have to manage when we implement this system. So in the by the service IT system, we have Teman Bus user app, which is used for make the people use the application for easy access to the vehicle or the public transportation. So conventionally, people are waiting in bus shelters and they can wait for a long time. But with the application, the passenger can just look at the application and then look at the schedule in the application, and they go to the nearest shelter for the better timing. And we also have a digital checker application. So this application is to help monitor the operation of the implementation of minimum service standards by the operators. So before the operation, the bus will be checked comprehensively to make sure that the bus is reliable and good for operation of the day. And then that is also done when the bus return to the depot. So they check again to make sure that tomorrow the bus will be good to go, and they will do the activities to prevent the problem. And if there is a problem, they will do the repair. And also we have a public website to socialize all the programs, and the people can access also this website to give inputs so that we will have better services continuously. So of course, for that, we need a lot of inputs from the community. And the next, we also have the operational management system that is used by the operator to manage the services. And this is also useful for the operators so that they can see the behaviors of the drivers and then the fleet and also the condition of the traffic. And then another IT system is executive dashboard. This is a dashboard that is used by the ministry to monitor all movements of the fleet that is included into the by the service program. And then the other one is web checker, which is used to monitor the application of the minimum service standard. And this is just to show you that we usually receive this kind of data in the executive dashboard, where we can actually see all the mobility of the fleet and the movement of the fleet, and then the kilometers of travel, and then the kilometers of services achieved, and then also the amount of money that will be received by the operators. So we also can see the movement of the passengers, etc. Now, in one of the digitalization system that we have, what is also important is the safety driving behavior monitoring that function to monitor all movements of the drivers during the operation of the vehicle, starting from leaving the depot until they come back to the depot, so that we can see the condition of the drivers, whether he is tired or sleepy, or whether he violates the traffic regulations, or conditions where the distance between vehicles are too close. So we have certain alerts that will inform us about violations. And this can be seen in our executive dashboard. Next. And this is the application that I have already mentioned, which is the Teman Bus application. Now we have the second version actually, where the passenger can use this application to plan their travel. So in the past, we just wait in bus shelter. Now using the application, we can see which shelter we have to go to, and then what time should we be in the shelter. And also we use a chip-based for ticketing, and also server base for the digital payment. So we want all to be digitalized. And that's, I think, about the situation in Indonesia. And the success factor of our program is that we can save the fuel, we can save time, and we can gain economic benefits, and we can create healthy environment, and also reduce the traffic jam, including the reduction in the traffic accidents. And this is because of the digitalization of this by the service program. And we are assisted by GIZ to do this in the process of preparation, in planning, and also operation. I think that's all my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hadi. Your presentation is not only interesting, but also a new lesson and a good source of reference for many countries in the world. And if you have something to ask Mr. Hadi, please kindly leave him comments and questions in the chat box. So we have just listened to all presentations in the session today, which shall plunge us into the open discussion. And for this session, I will have my friend Mr. Thao as a facilitator for the open discussion. And Mr. Thao, please come to the stage, and he will pick some great questions that you left in the chat box for our speakers to address.
So, thank you very much, Mr. Nước. And now, I would like to invite to the stage Mr. Tung from MOT, okay, for the discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just listened to one great presentation in the digitalization section today. There is one very interesting point here. We that have a very short time for only for presentation, but you can see the digitalization in from different viewpoint, from the government, from the economic, and from the business as well. And now it's time for discussion. Okay, so let me check the schedule. And let me see here how many comments and questions you left in the chat box for our speaker. So thank you so much. Great interaction. However, we that have a very short time, so let me take a quick look to find out some great questions to our speaker today. Okay, so firstly, I think that one question to the speaker from Ministry of Transport Vietnam, Mr. Le Thanh. Okay, for Vietnamese speaker, You emphasize international cooperation for digitalization in transport sector in Vietnam. So can you say more detail about this point? Thưa anh Tùng.
And recently, Vietnam's MOT has promoted international cooperation in digitalization in the transport sector. So we have worked with international organizations in receiving technical solutions, as well as we are supported to develop policies and mechanisms on innovations in the transport sector, and we have worked with international organizations from countries in the world to test and pilot technologies, for example, smart transport system or electronic toll collection, as well as a solution to address the urban traffic jams and to connect urban traffic networks with ring road network. And now during the course of digitalization, this is a new issue, and many countries have been implementing, and Vietnam accelerating the digital transformation in the transport sector, and we are developing plans and identify tasks to implement digitalization and the issues about technology, institutions, and resources. We are now promoting and mobilize resources to implement, and we hope that lessons learned and success stories from countries in the world would be shared with Vietnam so that we can accelerate the digitalization in the transport sector.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Tung, for your answer, and also for the, we understand that it's also a very important message for all of us. That is a cooperation, right? A collaboration. So thank you very much, Mr. Tung from Ministry of Transport. And right now, I would like to move to the next speaker. Okay, so should be to Dr. Lee from China. So, Dr. Lee, you mentioned smart city development in China. So, can you briefly brief the situation of the smart city development in China after the year 2017? Any good lesson for sharing? So, please, Dr. Lee, thank you.
Thank you. I'm not a city governor, but for my opinion, the most important thing for the promoting the smart city is the governance structure and the policy. So that the central government they need a platform, a framework, and they need to point the leading authorities for promote that one. And the other one, I think, is for the they have a policy to involve the and many stakeholders to join in to work together. So it's not only the government itself to build the smart city. The other thing I'm thinking is the key for promoting the smart city in China. And usually that the central government in China, they will give a title to the pilot cities about the smart city to promoting the smart cities, and the local government they will have their ways to get the enterprise company to get other stakeholders to join in. So that is, in my opinion, about the important thing to promoting the smart city.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. We found that still there are some more questions to you. Okay, we try to check if we have available time, and we come back in the next round. Thank you very much. And now, okay, to the lady on the stage, meet Vu Thu Giang from the Digital Transportation Center, Vietnam. There are one question for you. Okay. Okay, can you tell a little bit more about the role of private sector in digital transformation, please?
Yes. Thank you very much for very interesting questions. I think this is a very classic question, but it's always coming to debate about the role of the private sectors Well, I'm not in the position of the private sectors, but let me share some of the experience on how they could better engage. Now, what we are seeing at the moment is just the innovation systems, the startup entrepreneurship are just like start booming now in Vietnam, and it will continue to boom more. Over the past year, we are seeing like 2 unicorn coming up in Vietnam, and not just mostly for now, it's just only focus on more on the financial areas like fintechs and e-commerce. But we are seeing that, well, the private sectors are also very concerned and showing very passionate about like how they can play a critical role in contributing to the green transformations and also the digitalizations of the mobility sectors. That is coming from the young entrepreneurship on the open innovation. So they could like be the ones that generate new idea, new solutions, and it could spark a lot of business potential for them as. But well, it comes another thing is in addition to the development of solutions. Obviously, there are a lot of challenge when they are in the implementation phase. So I see that the collaboration with the government, we are seeing a lot of private company at the moment are now like paying very close attention and also collaborating with the government. We're seeing the local technologies like FPT, NPT are also collaborating, but also like the international companies like Bosch, Siemens are also wanting to contribute a little bit just to greener the sectors. So it's just more about like how we are building up the ecosystem where everyone could sit together and see as like a roadmap for the whole sector to transform. I think for now it's just like some general sharing. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I believe that you need more time, okay, for many information sharing, right? We try to find another opportunity, okay. So I think that we have a very limited time. So we try to pick one question to our speaker from Indonesia. Okay, to Mr. Hadi. We found one question for you. I think that it's very relevant to the question to Dr. Lee from China. So, to Mr. Hadi, how the central government, such as the Ministry of Transport in Indonesia, support the local government to implement the transition to digital platform for the buy the service BST program? So, please, Mr. Hadi, thank you.
Baik, terima kasih. Ini pertanyaannya sangat bagus sekali dan kami coba menjelaskan peran dari pemerintah pusat terhadap digitalisasi yang nantinya juga akan dilaksanakan oleh pemerintah daerah. Tentu saja kami tidak akan
be letting the local governments to do it alone, because we want to have a uniform minimum service standards. It means that all the minimum service standards for digitalization have to be applied by all local governments. And also the improvement of capacity of the local government's officers have to be increased so that they can implement this service after the transition. Because in the initial phase, the buy the service program is implemented by the central government. And we also have a timeline that later that system will be transferred to the local government so that they can continue the operation. And because this is a project, so in the first period, maybe during the first 5 years, we will try to create the minimum service standards and refine those standards and do the digitalization of the standards, including checking the safety aspects and also environmental aspects. And then the next stage will be to improve the capacity of the officers in the local governments so that they can implement the standards as expected by the central government. And then from that, we have the expectation that the local governments will be able to implement by the service program based on the national guideline. I think that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hadi, for your answering. I think that it's very informative. Okay, but we found that still many questions in the chat box. However, time is we run out of time, so it's time for me to say to close the discussion right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you everyone for a fantastic and exciting session. In that 1 hour, we have an opportunity to listen to our 4 excellent presentations, enjoying highly interactive discussion with many cut-to-the-chase comments and questions. I hope that all participants here will find our session about digitalization in transport today useful and somehow applicable to the work, the business. So before closing this session, again, thank you very much for the own participant, the cooperation and contribution as well. Please enjoy break time and back to Asian Hub in the afternoon. Thank you very much. Yeah. So
Thank you. Terima kasih, Mr. Thao.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to the speaker from Vietnam, China, and Indonesia,นะครับ, and also GSAT Vietnam for being moderator for the session,นะครับ, and compiling such a very interesting discussion,นะครับ. For those of you who post questions and haven't been answered yet,นะครับ, perhaps you can also leave your email as well, and our staff will come back to you,นะครับ, as soon as possible with possible question that we can find,นะครับ. You can also find more information in the chat,นะครับ, and also the link to different reports from different countries as well,นะครับ. For now, we will go into our lunch break,นะครับ, and we will have our online participant can enjoy the music that we will play during the breaks,นะครับ, and also get into the informal exchange formats,นะครับ, in the platform as well,นะครับ. My colleagues will post the link into the chat. Please enjoy your break and see you back in 1 hour at 1 p.m. Hanoi time. Thank you very much and see you soon.